hello, oh people, my people. It is good to see you, whether you're joining me on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or even a Tuesday. Either way, it's good that we can gather together in this way to hear some of our sacred story, to figure out what in the world that means for us here today and in our lives and in our shared lives. So, I'm sipping on coffee because it's morning time. This is one of my favorite mugs. This is an important thing. Actually, not important at all. So it's a lower tier soccer team out of Florida, and their mascot, I don't know if you can see it, is a chubby seagull, which is just adorable and hilarious. And I love minor league soccer and baseball and stuff like that. I love that they don't get paid as much. I mean, they should get paid, but I like the purity of it. I like the ambition and the hope that comes with those people playing at those lower tiers, and I hope all of them get to fulfill their dreams. But anyway, here's to chubby seagulls. So we are finishing up our series, our short series entitled Neither Here Nor There, which has been an exploration of what it means to be uncomfortable and in exile and in between places of comfort, whether you're in the middle of a medical journey, in the middle of a career change or a relationship change, or in the middle of life. What does it mean when you're not at home in one way and not at home on the other side? I think it's important because a lot of us and a lot of faith communities and things like that are kind of in that in-between time, that liminal state. So we've spent the last 3 weeks talking about it, and we finish today. Next week, believe it or not, is Advent. It doesn't feel like it, but it's upon us. So this Sunday in the life of Bellevue First United Methodist Church is a full one. It's a busy one. So it's the last Sunday of this worship series. It is also the anniversary of when this congregation became a reconciling congregation. So that's a big deal, and we'll be talking about that and celebrating that. This Sunday, we are also concluding our stewardship drive. If you are a member of the church, a constituent of the church, a friend of the church, or if you're a total stranger who wants to give to support the work of this congregation, please do so. Go to our website. There's information there. It's also close to Thanksgiving, so we'll be talking about gratitude and gratefulness. Oh, rewind. As part of our stewardship celebration, we are having a pie party after worship where we are all going to bring various pies, like my family's chocolate bourbon pecan pie. So if you want to join us, you get pie, right? So there's incentive or a bribe, whatever it might be. So it's also Thanksgiving and gratefulness at the church. This Sunday, November 20th at 3:30, we will also be hosting a service, even though it's not a worship service, for the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is super important, and we are honored to help in that remembrance. And Sunday, November 20th, is the start of the World Cup, which, at least in my world, is a big deal. So there is a tremendous amount happening. So come join us. It's fun. So hit pause briefly and go and read Luke chapter 4, verses 1 through 13. It's the text, the story of Jesus in the wilderness where he faces temptation. It's like all of our text, especially in this worship series, awesome and deep, and we could spend weeks and months talking about it, but I'll only spend about 10 minutes. So hit pause, go read it, come back. Ready? Go. And we're back. Okay, so in 1984, all the worldwide Methodists met, I believe in Baltimore. I could be wrong about that, but if memory serves, it was Baltimore. And they voted to put into our book of discipline, which is basically our book of doctrine and church law and all of that, that a sentence or two that said that homosexuality was incompatible with Christian teaching, and it was very anti-LGBTQI. About a month later, after that, the very first two congregations voted to become reconciling congregations. And reconciling comes out of a notion that churches and congregations need to make amends with the LGBTQ population that it had harmed. And so that notion of being reconciled and being brought together in a sacred way to repair that relationship is where that name comes from. So about a month after the General Conference said was very anti-LGBTQ, the very first two congregations that were officially on record as saying we are open and affirming to LGBTQI members and clergy voted to become reconciling congregations, one in New York, one in California, so spanning the breadth of the United States. In the following year, about 9 other congregations joined in. But I got to thinking for this week about what it must have felt like for those first congregations as they went through their discernment period, as they took that vote. There must have been, on one hand, I think it might have been an easy decision, because like when the Spirit compels us towards justice and towards goodness, there's a surety there, right? We're like, I know this is right, even if it's not popular. But it's also, I imagine it would have been a hard decision because they didn't know what was going to happen, right? Would the churches be kicked out of the denomination? Would the people who voted in favor of becoming a reconciling church be kicked out of the denomination? Would the clergy people who were assigned to those churches, would they be defrocked and kicked out? So these congregations stepped out from a place of comfort, from not causing good trouble to causing good trouble. And I think that's a remarkable journey. So almost every church that I've pastored, not all of them though, have been reconciling congregations, and one of them became a reconciling congregation during my tenure, and I'm very proud of that. If you don't like that, then turn off the video, because this isn't for you. So I remember the discernment period, I remember the discussions, and it was easy and it was hard, right? It's hard to take a stand even when you feel like what you're doing is right, where you have assurance that it's right and good and holy and true, that it's still hard to step out, to be public, to draw a line in the sand and say, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. And it got me thinking, once a long time ago, I think I was a teenager, I read a quote that said, when you're given the choice between something easy and something hard, choose the hard thing, because the hard thing is usually the right thing. And that quote, that thought, has stuck with me. And I will say that it's not totally applicable in all instances. Like, if you're having abdominal surgery, the easy way would be to have sedation and painkillers. The hard way would be like, nope, I don't need anything, just do the surgery. Like, if you're given the choice between the easy way and the hard way, for that, take the easy way, right? But there are times in our lives where we are offered by the world, by people, by our positions in society, by our jobs, a choice between doing something the easy way and the hard way. And generally, the easy way is the comfortable way, right? It's probably the path we're already on. And the hard way might be the way of taking a stand. The hard way might be the way of getting off the couch and getting busy, or, giving of our free time. And in instances, I do think it's important for us to really look at what we're being offered, the way forward that is in front of us. There's an easy road and a hard road. Most of what's offered to us by the world is the easy road, the road of comfort, right? The hard road might challenge us and force us to grow. It's a formative road. So our text today is Jesus in the wilderness, and I think it's very much about easy ways versus hard ways. And I think the devil, Satan, that shows up in this story, in this text, is kind of an embodiment of the world, right? It's kind of an embodiment of being offered things without earning them, or offered things that come with a cost that that sometimes is tempting, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the story, is Jesus is offered these things, but in order to get them, to receive them, he has to not depend on God. He depends on what the world offers or what Satan offers, and I think that's important for us, because the world does offer a lot, and I love the world. It's a beautiful place, and people are generally good, but the world tends to offer what already exists, and God offers what should be and what could be, right? So when we look at the world, we know it's an imperfect place. We know that injustice exists, and we are generally offered a way forward that doesn't change anything, right? The world likes status quo. Companies like the status quo. They like us just sort of behaving like robots that just purchase and buy and consume. Most systems don't like upheaval. They don't like chaos. The world offers us what already exists, which is imperfect. I believe the Spirit of God is at work in our hearts and in our minds and in our relationships and in our communities as we gather, that offers us what should be. And it does that in all sorts of ways. It does that through music and poetry and the inspiration that strikes some people. It just offers us a vision of what could be and what ought to be and what can be if we're willing to be brave, if we're willing to be creative, if we're willing to not always take the easy road and just say, yep, give me that acclaim, give me that easy money, give me that comfort, give me that lack of trouble. And so I'm grateful as I stand here today in my little courtyard that I love off my office, grateful for the churches that have voted to become reconciling congregations, even though it presented risk and it was a harder way forward. I'm grateful for the clergy people and the laity who have been at the heart and the center of those kinds of things. I'm grateful for the coaches and pastors and parents and everyone who taught me about sometimes needing to do it the hard way, the way that causes growth and change rather than the easy way forward. And as we conclude this worship series where we have explored being neither here nor there, I think it's really important to remember and to call to mind that the hard times in our lives, the desert experiences, the wilderness experiences, the times where we're on the way and on the road and we don't feel at home, and it makes us work and it makes us scared and it makes us tired, that those are sacred times. Those are important times, the times where we step out like Jesus did into the uncomfortable places to, number one, learn to depend on God, right? You know, to be like, okay, God, it's just me and you and I'm going to need you right now. Like, that's important, but also, like Jesus's experience in the wilderness, that it's important that we keep growing, right? I mean, that's part of what happened during that, is Jesus had been claimed and named by God, but he still went out to be formed and refined and to gain a better understanding of who he was for himself and for the world. Like, that is presented to us as well when we are in between, when we are neither here nor there. And that is, even in the midst of hardship and trial, that's a blessed thing. So if you are neither here nor there, in whatever way it is, know that you are standing on sacred ground and good things can and will happen. I think that'll do for today. I'm looking at the time. We're almost at 15 minutes, and that is plenty. So go in peace. Remember to keep an eye out for chubby seagulls, which doesn't make sense, but I need more coffee. So I hope everyone has a blessed Thanksgiving. Be kind to one another. Be excellent to one another. Keep an eye out for chances to grow. And see you next week as we begin Advent. Right. All right. Bye-bye.